Unit 9, where Inca kings lie. Rising to the height of power, a series of ancient rulers subdued kingdoms, sculpted mountains, and forged a mighty civilization. On a Peruvian island in the middle of Lake Titicaca, hundreds of people stand in silence as a priest recited a prayer. Descended in part from Inca colonists sent here more than 500 years ago. They keep many of the old ways. They weave colored cloths, speak their traditional language of the Inca, and work their fields as they have for centuries. Today, they are celebrating the festival of Santiago or Saint James, walking behind the priest. Several people carry a statue of the saint, just as the Inca once held the mummies of their kings. For many years, there were few clues to give us insight into the lives of Inca kings. The Inca had no system of writing, so they have no written record of life back then. Any portraits that Inca artists may have made were lost. The royal palaces of Coco, the Inca capital, fell swiftly to the Spanish, and a new colonial city buried or obliterated obliterated the Inca past that archaeologists are now making up for lost time. Near Cusco, they are discovering thousands of previously unknown sites. These new and exciting discoveries are shedding new light on the Inca. In the 1980s, most archaeologists believed that a young leader named Pachacuti Inca Tupac, also known as Pachacutec, became the first Inca king in the early 1400s. But Brian Barker, an archaeologist from the University of Illinois at Chicago, believed the Inca dynasty had far deeper roots. With the aid of a college and several assistants, they discovered thousands of previously unknown Inca sites in the Cusco Valley. The new evidence revealed for the first time how an Inca state had risen much earlier than previously believed, sometime between 1200 and 1300. The ancient rulers of the region have fallen by 11,000, in part because of the severe drought. Local leaders battle over scarce water and led their people into neighboring villages in search of food. The frightened village fled to cold, windy hideouts nearly 4,000 meters up in the mountains. But in the fertile valley around Cusco, Inca villagers stood their ground. Instead of fighting among themselves, these villages united into a small state capable of defending themselves. Between 1150 and 1300, the Inca around Cusco capitalized on a warming trend. As temperatures climbed, farmers moved up the mountains, creating crop fields by cutting green terraces onto the cliffs and subsequently enjoying large and successful corn harvests. Inca king became eyeing the resources of others. Local leaders in the valleys fell one by one until there was only one mighty state and one capital, the sacred city of Cusco. The kings next set their sights on the lands around Lake Titicaca. Sometimes after 1400, the same Pac of Chapultepec set his sights on the south. He successfully attacked the area of the mid-1400s. In the years that followed, Pakaputec and his sons subdued all the southern rulers. Under Inca rule, Andro civilization flourished. Inca engineers transformed roads into interconnected highways. Kaka farmers grew out some 70 different native crops, often storing 3 to 7 years worth of food in vast storehouses. And Inca builders created architectural wonders like Machu Picchu, which continue to awe visitors today. By the time the Inca king Huga took power around 1493, little seemed beyond the reach of the Inca. For his new capital in Ecuador, 4,500 people carried immense stone blocks all the way from Cusco, a distance of nearly 1,600 kilometers. In the Inca heartland, a small army of people built an estate and palace for Huayna Capac and his family. To date, archaeologists have located the ruins of roughly a dozen similar estates built by at least 6 Inca kings. But things changed in 1531. Foreign invaders have landed there in the north amid a civil war. Covered in mantle and carrying little new weapons, the Spanish easily overcame the Inca and took prisoner the Inca king, Atahualpa. 8 months later, they executed their royal captive. In 1934, a young prince, Manco Inca Zapangui, was picked by Spanish leader Francisco Pizarro and allowed to rule as a puppet king. Manco Inca was then only 15 years old and was easily controlled. He thought the Spanish were gods. However, in the months followed, the Spanish seized the palaces of Cusco. Manco Inca tried desperately to drive them out, but his army suffered defeat. Over the next few decades, the Inca's network of roads, temples, and estates began falling into disrepair. In 2001, Brian Rowley and two Peruvian colleagues went looking for the mummies of their Inca kings, hoping to restore Peruvian, an important part of their cultural heritage. Barrier identified several possibilities for burial sites of Chapultepec and Huayna Capac. Using special equipment, they scanned the light-lit areas and found what appeared to be an underground tomb. But Bau and his Peruvian teammates were thrilled. But when the archaeologists finally dug down and opened the door of the dusty chamber, they found it empty. Today, no one can say where Peru's greatest king